And panelists, if you you can leave your camera on, and then you'll all kind of stay on our screen, hopefully. So thank you again for your time. And I just wanted to let everybody start off having each of the alumni take a turn introducing yourself, how long you were at Woodlawn, when you graduated, and basically what you've been doing since you graduated, just to get us rolling. So Jack, if you wouldn't mind going first, you're in my upper left corner. That would be great.
Yeah, for sure. I'm Jack. I was at Woodlawn for 10 years. I was class of 2019, currently a junior at Duke.
Thank you. Morgan?
Yes, so my name's Morgan. I went to Woodlawn for, I think, 9 years it was, and I graduated in 2019 with Jack as well. I'm now a junior at UNC Chapel Hill.
Wonderful. Al?
I'm Al. I was at Woodlawn for around that same time, 9-10 years. Graduated in 2020, and I'm now a sophomore at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago.
Wonderful. JT and Megan?
I'm Megan, also part of the class of 2019. I was at Woodlawn for about 7 years. I'm currently a junior at Dickinson College.
And I'm JT. I was also class of 2019. I was at Woodlawn for 5 years, and I'm a junior at Virginia Tech.
Wonderful. Trip?
I'm Trip. I was at Woodlawn for, I think it was 10 or 11 years. I graduated in 2018, and I'm currently a senior at the University of Georgia.
Thank you. Will, would you mind going next?
Yeah, and I'm Will, same as Trip, 10 or 11 years. I don't remember now either. And I just finished up at High Point in December, and I'm now working. I own a real estate firm and work in the area.
Wonderful. Okay, excellent. Profe is reminding everyone, or I meant to say this at the beginning, but I forgot. If you have any questions that you think of during the conversation and you want to type them into the chat, she will manage that. So we welcome that. And some of them we will, most of them will probably like throw in at the end, but we can start accumulating any questions. Okay. Back to introductions. Is there anyone I've missed? Because not everyone is on my front page. So I just want to make sure I didn't miss any of our alumni. Okay, I think I got it. Okay, excellent. Thank you. So I'm wondering if we could, and we don't necessarily have to keep going in order, but we can if that's better. But if you could think about a little bit about how you feel Woodlawn prepared you for college. So in terms of thinking back to like your first semester, that's probably first semester of college, but through the years, things that maybe stand out to you as you know, ways that Woodlawn helped you be ready for college. Do you think that Woodlawn did a good job of preparing you for college? And sort of how did you feel once you got there? Is there anyone that would want to go first?
I guess I can start.
Thanks,
I think that the project-based learning part of it really helped me the most. So the way that classes are kind of built in a way that integrate all of them together, and the projects that come out of that, because now I work with an office at Virginia Tech that is with different affairs projects. And so kind of integrating all of those together, like those classes at Woodlawn really helped me kind of start with that.
Great. Are you still pursuing like video like production?
Yeah, I'm double majoring in cinema and public relations, but I'm also kind of moving into like student affairs and higher education too. So I don't really know yet, but kind of combining those.
Sounds really good. Okay, excellent. Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak to that question? Of feeling prepared, or things that stand out to you?
Yeah, I would say, and which was really interesting at High Point, they require us, and I wish that they didn't, they require us to take a college writing course the first semester that you get there to teach you how to write papers and how to do research. And it was by far not needed. And I thought that a reoccurring theme that I think everyone will say is that there's a certain level of resourcefulness and an understanding on how to do large projects that definitely in a comparison to peers and other people in the class, that was not even comparable in getting projects done.
Great.
I can speak to one big thing for me, which was that I think because Woodlawn's small, like it really kind of encouraged people to develop relationships with teachers and faculty in a way that people in larger schools, I think, don't get the chance to. So I think from day one at college, like, you know, I had no problem going off hours and interacting with professors. And it's also really benefited me as I've started to interview for like internships and jobs over summers and stuff. You know, I think Woodlawn really kind of encourages people to be comfortable speaking to adults and people that are new. So that was one big thing that's really valuable for me.
Great.
Yeah, talking about like Woodlawn's smaller size too, I think that it kind of forces you to work with certain types of people and all different types of people, and that's something that's really helped me out, especially in the business school at Georgia. Just working with a variety of people, figuring out how to work with them better than others, and I think just Woodlawn being how it is just really helped nurture that sense of, you know, working together towards a common goal, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Al?
Yeah, I was gonna Jack kind of hit on one of my points, and then the other one I was gonna say was like the time management workload thing. Woodlawn really kind of like helped me develop that and be able to handle that. That when I got to college, I was kind of already like prepared for that level of work and stuff when some of my peers were kind of drowning in their work. So that was definitely a big part.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else want to speak to preparation or classes you felt particularly prepared for, or have any advice you might give your upper school self of things that like might have helped you to have a better start or anything like that?
Yeah, one thing that I also was really happy that we were able to take advantage of, which I'm assuming it's still the same, of how our curriculum is really AP based. Being able to take advantage of those exams. I mean, a lot of people were able to come in to High Point, myself as well, with a bunch of credits already. So being able to not have to speed up or feel stressed about your education and graduating on time or even graduating early was really, really helpful. So I would say taking advantage of those and being at a good interim college level was fantastic.
Excellent. Jack and Morgan, I hope I won't embarrass you but I remember that you both were AP scholars, so you must have gotten into college with a number of credits. How have you been able to like use those credits, or what have you sort of, has that opened other doors where you could have taken like more electives, or how has that played out for you?
I'd say for me, I'd like to highlight like the Spanish program at Woodlawn. And so I was able to take 2 AP Spanish classes in my time, and that helped me. I got to skip the intro level Spanish classes, and I've already finished a minor as a junior, so that was really helpful in just speeding up that process. Versus, I think a lot of my peers were a little bit further behind, especially in the foreign languages. And so that was like definitely super helpful for me.
That's great.
Yeah, I can speak to that as well. So I think Duke limited our AP credits to 2 when we came in, so I could only use 2 of my credits, which was like kind of unfortunate, but it gave me a little bit more flexibility in my curriculum, just in terms of like working towards the credit like requirement for graduation. But the big thing for me was one of the credits that I got was AP English, and I think like Will touched on, I had a required writing class, and I feel like AP English was huge in terms of prepping me for college writing. Writing 101 was, again, like Will said, I felt like kind of unnecessary, but for a lot of my peers, it was a really hard class freshman year, but it kind of felt like the same stuff we've been doing in AP English. So for me, that was one big thing that really helped.
Great. Wonderful. I'm wondering if you all can speak to the social transition, right? Because when we think of Woodlawn is a pretty small school, even compared to a small college is big compared to Woodlawn. I'm wondering how the social transition went for you, and if there's anything that you learned at Woodlawn that helped you make that social transition. Megan?
I was just saying, Jack already said what I was going to say earlier about the like student-teacher relationships. I think that's been like super crucial for me, especially with my like advisor at college. I've developed like a really close relationship with her, which I think is going to be like really beneficial for like my future, just with like having those kinds of connections. And I think that definitely like started at Woodlawn, just like the closeness you feel, like being comfortable around your teachers in a way. I think that like bigger like public schools probably don't really have as much.
Mhm.
I mean, I guess I also think like our graduating class was 28, which at that time is the biggest graduating class. And then I went to Virginia Tech, where the incoming first year class was almost 8,000. And so I think I was really nervous that like, how am I gonna fit in or like make friends with 8,000 people going into like 1 year? And I think that the whole like connected part of feeling like a family at Woodlawn really helped with that. Because when I went to Virginia Tech, I was able to make these connections and kind of have a basis of understanding like what a family feels like and what really feeling connected and knowing everyone feels like. And that helped me build a lot of different connections at Virginia Tech as well.
That makes me so happy, JT.
I can touch on that really quickly. I think Trip mentioned this earlier, but because Woodlawn is a little bit smaller, I think I kind of got good at getting along with a lot of different people in a way that, you know, when you're at a bigger school, you can kind of just like pick who you do and don't want to spend your time around. So when I got to college, you know, I feel like it was really easy for me to get along with people I encountered in classes, even if they were, you know, different from me in terms of like interest or major or whatever it might be. And beyond that, I also think like some of the connections I made at Woodlawn were really strong. And so as I came in and started to make friends, I kind of like knew what I wanted out of relationships and friendships. And I think that served me really well as I kind of got to meet new people. And as you know, you looked into like social organizations and stuff. I think, you know, having that strong sense of what a good friendship looks like was really important.
Wonderful. I'm wondering if everyone can say sort of, if we can go to each person and say what you're majoring in and sort of how you came to, or like if you are, I guess you're the oldest folks are seniors, so what you're majoring in and sort of how you came to decide on that. Al, would you mind starting?
Yeah, so I'm focused or concentrating in painting and drawing is my focus, and I kind of decided on that because I was interested in it, and it just seemed like I would have the most fun doing it, and that's kind of really what it boiled down to.
And if I'm, because we worked closely together on your capstone, I would be remiss if I didn't bring it up. Can you speak a little bit on how you were maybe able to prep a little bit for pursuing the arts at Woodlawn, even though we don't necessarily have like an art class every single year? Maybe you could touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, you cut out there for a little bit.
Oh,
So just the capstone, like touching on capstone as it?
I was going to say, if you could say a little bit about how you were able to engage the arts at Woodlawn, even though you weren't taking necessarily like an art class every year.
Yeah. Well, I think capstone was definitely a huge part of that, having a whole year to kind of dive in to something, and not choosing, like I chose about like museums and curation, so not doing something that was specifically art but related to it, and just kind of using that as like a or like a stepping stone up and kind of like a sounding board for all these ideas and stuff that I was thinking about. And then kind of the like internship week, getting into that and meeting new people. So just kind of through, even though like Woodlawn didn't have an art curriculum, but kind of using the Woodlawn curriculum as like a way to get into art, kind of like making it work for me was definitely how I ended up year.
I think of you every time I walk by the stick, or Al's internship week. He spent helping make the, is it Patrick Doherty? Was that his name?
Yeah.
The stick art house. I call it a house. At the Davidson campus, Al participated in helping to make that. And so I think about you when our family walks by there. Okay, Morgan, would you mind saying what you're studying and how you came to decide that?
Yeah, so I am majoring in neuroscience and then I'm minoring in Spanish. It's Spanish for the medical professions. So I decided on neuroscience actually at Woodlawn. I went into college knowing what I wanted to do, and that was through one of the electives I took in high school. The AP Bio teacher at the time held in like a neuroscience and the law elective, and I ended up really enjoying it and ended up pursuing it in college. So I think that Woodlawn literally helped me choose what I wanted to do in college, and that was really helpful. And then obviously Spanish as well, I touched on earlier, but yeah, I got to kind of fast track the Spanish minor, and so I'm finished with that now.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Will, would you mind going next?
Yeah, so my story would be similar to Al's. I originally applied to High Point as an athletic training major in their 5-year program, but actually capstone was a primary driver in me wanting to change my major, just because at Woodlawn we didn't have too much of a business necessarily curriculum. So being able to use capstone as a way to explore business and what I wanted to do, and High Point does offer an entrepreneurship major, which is not too common. So that was the main driver and wanted to explore and get into that and take advantage of it. So ultimately that is what I went with, was entrepreneurship major.
Great. Trip, would you mind going next?
Sure. So I went into college as a biochemistry major because I really enjoyed sciences at my time at Woodlawn. But I actually got to college and realized that it wasn't really for me. And I think that one thing about Woodlawn is it dipped your toe into every sort of base educational field. And so Woodlawn didn't necessarily have business courses, as Will was saying, but I felt like business was something that I could see myself going into just based on my liberal arts background. And so I decided to switch my major over to marketing, and I decided to have an area of emphasis in digital marketing.
Wonderful. Thank you. Megan, would you mind going next?
Sure, yeah. I'm pursuing education. So that was something like going into college, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I kind of just took my first year, or at least my first semester, to just like take whatever classes kind of sounded interesting. And I took an educational psychology class, which I really liked. So I started taking more classes within the major and then decided to like actually pursue the major. So yeah.
And that's really cool to hear, because as for those of you who don't know me, I help facilitate the capstone research projects, and that's really a passion project for our seniors. And we say it could be what you want to pursue in life or for your career, but it doesn't have to be. Although I'm noticing a lot of people's capstone project is lining up from what I remember, because your capstone project was about homework and education. So I'm seeing that a lot of you have pursued those interests further, which is neat. JT, I know I kind of said yours for you, but maybe similar to Al, I remember you doing a lot of video projects at Woodlawn. So maybe similar to the question I asked Al about what are some of the ways you were able to pursue your passion for video production at Woodlawn, even though there wasn't like a video production class or that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think my answer is going to be very similar to what Tripp's was, where Woodlawn really allows you to kind of take or pursue an interest in anything. So we have electives, which are in a lot of different areas that you can pursue something you're interested in, or you can focus your capstone on something you're really interested in. So I think that like I went into college not really knowing what I wanted to do at all, and I changed my major 3 different times. I think that was because of Woodlawn, because I was interested in so many different things that I was kind of able to really focus in on like what I actually wanted to do with all of these like broad interests. So with video production, making all those little videos at Woodlawn kind of taught me like, do I like scripting or do I like working with people? And I was able to kind of focus on that whenever I got to college.
You taught me how to make iMovies, and I have used that skill so often, JT. Jack, last but not least.
Yeah, for sure. So I came into Duke as a psych major. And you know, psych is something that I was like kind of interested in high school, but we didn't have like an elective or anything. So I kind of just came in hoping I was going to enjoy it. And I ended up kind of deciding to move a little bit away from psych, and I ended up being an econ major. Like Will and Trip kind of touched on, we didn't have any sort of like business curriculum, but it was something that when I was at Woodlawn, I knew I was kind of interested in. And I took Econ 101 my freshman fall and actually really enjoyed it. You know, I think that was, it was like a different kind of type of learning for me, but I really enjoyed math at Woodlawn, and econ is really math based at Duke. So it's kind of a good way to, you know, apply some of the math that I had at Woodlawn and continue learning, but also feel kind of businessy. But I'm still keeping that psych minor, which is a lot of fun. And again, yeah, I mean, I think, you know, Woodlawn exposes you to a lot of different industries and kind of like educational interests. And my capstone was psych and therapy based, which I really enjoyed. You know, like I said, I ended up not majoring in that, but it did kind of inform an interest of mine. And it's still something I could see myself getting involved in later down the road. So.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So I want to lastly ask you all if there are any other sort of takeaways from your Woodlawn experience that we haven't gotten a chance to mention yet. And then I also want to tip off, I've noticed that there are a lot of alumni parents listening in. So some of your parents joined us today, some of our panelists' parents. So if there's anything you wanted to share about your students' Woodlawn experience that maybe they didn't say, I would totally welcome you to chime in next, but wanted to give you a little heads up. And then we will also start taking any questions we have. So firstly, panelists, are there any other takeaways from your Woodlawn experience that you didn't mention yet that you wanted to?
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on one thing about how Woodlawn really enabled me a lot of opportunities to have leadership positions just because it was so small, and it made me really comfortable in those positions. And it's something that's actually allowed me to be president of my fraternity at UGA for the past year. And so I think just being able to put yourself into unique situations and to lead people in a smaller environment can really help you develop skills in a larger environment such as college and onwards.
I will say, just a very quick anecdote, that I came from teaching college to Woodlawn, and it struck me right away how well versed Woodlawn students were at presentation giving and verbal presentation and like presenting to the class. And that's something that is so ingrained in our curriculum that I hope that when you all get to college classes, you feel pretty good about those because you have so much experience with that. Yeah. Any other takeaways that someone would like to mention?
And the one thing similar to Trip is what I would say is just the relationships that you form and the people that you actually get close with. I mean, from teachers to students, there's so many different people that I've been able to connect with and are still in touch with. I mean, and now it's been 4 years later. So I would say that is one of the big differences in comparing my friends that I have at High Point in their high school experience to mine. That would be one of my biggest takeaways for sure.
That's wonderful. Great. Well, are there any alumni parents that would like to jump in and maybe fill in something from your students' experience? They didn't know they were going to be called on. It's okay if not, but if so, just feel free to unmute yourself and fire away. I'm going to see if anyone's.
I'll just highlight my son's trip, and I'm just echo the things that he said. But I also just, as I've watched a lot of Woodlawn graduates, including my son, move on to college, just the strong sense of self-confidence that they have entering that environment and not getting overwhelmed by all the various distractions and opportunities they have at college, but really kind of staying true to themselves. I definitely saw that in Trip, going from an 11-person graduating class to, I don't know what UGA is, 30,000 or so, and not getting, overwhelmed by that transition was something that I saw in him. And frankly, when I was attending alumni panels prior to Trip even entering high school, was something that I heard from the alumni at that time.
Thank you so much. Are there any other parents that want to chime in? Okay, I would love to open the floor to any questions that people have. I will look at the chat, but also feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question. So far, I don't see any questions, but jump in there. We'll give everybody a minute. Okay, we have a question from Mr. Miller in the 8th grade. They say, what did you all find was the biggest challenge you faced in starting college, and any tips for our seniors heading to college?
I can start on this one if you want. I was at Woodlawn for 10 years, and I think I was very comfortable in kind of the routine of Woodlawn. And so I think one thing I would really encourage you all to remember, as you move into college, is that it's probably going to take a little time for you to settle in and find your place. And that's entirely normal. I remember my freshman fall, my parents came up for parents weekend, a month or two into school, and they told all the parents when they were there that kids always talk to their parents during parents weekend about transferring because it's hard to find your place. And it's not to say that transferring is Al transferred and that was good for him, but my point is if right away it doesn't feel it's perfect, that's okay, and give it some time. I mean, college takes time to get comfortable, and especially for me, after having spent 10 years at the same place, it definitely took me some time to find my place and find my people. And that's fine. I think COVID also kind of complicated that a lot for our year, and I'm sure for Will and Trip, and I'm sure for the seniors and stuff. But I don't know. I would just encourage you to kind of give it some time, and I don't know, have confidence in who you are and what you want out of your experience.
I appreciate you saying that, Jack, because I've had that conversation with some of our current, our last year seniors and current freshmen it just takes a little time, because it's also one of those things where everyone else thinks everybody else is having the time of their life immediately. And it does just sometimes take a little bit of time. Did anybody else want to speak to that? We do have other questions, but Al, I would love to hear your perspective.
I can kind of be the opposite end of that. I transferred, so I went to gone to 2 colleges, freshman and sophomore year. And definitely that first kind of it was kind of the inverse for me. I got to college, or I went to a school called Columbia last year and really liked it and really enjoyed it. And then it kind of set in that I was maybe I'm not the happiest here, and I was okay, well, let me stick it out some more. But so yeah, I will say stick it out, but there's gonna if you're not supposed to be there, you're gonna know. And so just being kind of open to that, and it's not you're giving up or anything, but it's people don't fit in everywhere, so just be open to that you might not be at the correct place your first time.
That's great. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to go to the next question. Profe says there's a student in the Spanish room who wants to make sure he can make plenty of money after college. Did that go into your decision-making process with choosing your college or your major? And then also somebody wants to know, Will, how you got into real estate. So we can go in either direction first.
Well, I'll answer both really quickly. So I would say, especially, I mean, in today's world, anything that you're really doing can be monetized. I feel like, I mean, especially with social media, if there's something that you want to do, no matter what, there's always a way to make money out of it. Personally, I mean, I didn't consider that. I mean, I am a business major, so those two tend to go hand in hand. So it didn't really cross my mind. But my best advice would be pursue exactly what it is that you want to do and think about money externally and as a secondary factor. Just because no matter what, if you're doing what you want to do, I would say that the money would come, and there's so many different ways for it too. And to answer the real estate question, it was, I mean, it's in North Carolina, it is not hard to get a real estate license. You have to be 18 and have a pulse. That is about it. And so I had gotten into it because it's a low barrier to entry to entrepreneurship. The costs aren't too expensive. I didn't think that this would be something that I wanted to do, but after getting into the field and working a little bit, I really did start to like it, and especially the brokerage and the firm side of it instead of being an agent, I would say.
Great, thank you. Okay, the next question is, Molly and Addie would like to know how you chose your major and minor, if there were some other factors that you didn't already mention that impacted that decision.
I can speak to econ as my major. You know, I really liked Econ 101, and I really enjoy my coursework. But one factor that was big for me is that you know, econ's pretty marketable. And I think that's something I considered when I was trying to pick a major, is that you know, if I wanted to do business or I wanted to do something else, you know, if I want to go back to grad school or something, econ kind of gave me that flexibility. So I think that's pretty common within the econ major at Duke, and I'm sure at other schools too, is that you know, I think oftentimes when people are unsure of what they want to do or unsure of their major, they'll try to pick one that they feel like is kind of versatile and gives you some options after graduation. And that was definitely a factor for me.
That's a great point. Thank you. We have a question.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Chip.
Sorry, kind of piggybacking off of that, marketing, I kind of just wanted to do something that I felt like had a wide breadth of opportunities after college. But I actually have a minor in film studies, and that's something that I was more passionate about, just like as an interest. And so I think that like Woodlawn does a really good job of like, you know, showing you what interests you like and helping you develop those. And so like I remember that a lot of my projects that I did in school were video based, and I had always an interest there. And Woodlawn allowed me to do that based on the flexibility of project-based learning. And so just when you go into college, I think that that's worked for me, is doing something that's flexible as your main activity and something that you can like kind of guide your electives as a minor.
Great, thank you. We have a question from one of our pre-K and kinder parents. What improvements or changes do you recommend that Woodlawn make? And is there anything you felt that was lacking during your time there? Guess it's good that lots of things don't come to mind immediately.
I can talk on this, I guess. So I'm not sure how the electives are set up now currently, but like I said, choosing neuroscience as a major for me in college came because of the electives I took in high school. And I think that it was really helpful when I was in high school that the electives were very varied, and I got to like, they had a career, at least for the ones I took, some of them had like a career base. So I think that kind of what Jack and Trip and Will had touched on as well is that there isn't really a variety of classes at Woodlawn because we're so small. And I think that having the electives offer that variety really helped me personally figure out what I want to do with my career. And so I think like, yeah, going forward, just maintaining that variety and trying to add it in where you can.
That's great. Thank you. That's really helpful. Wonderful. Are there any other questions or anything else you thought of as a Woodlawn takeaway just jump in there. And if not, we will wrap up. So please, I'll give if anybody has any further questions.
I think I was gonna say, as like another takeaway, something I experienced at Woodlawn was like seeing everyone around me succeed and be really successful, and I was nervous that I wasn't going to be that successful. And so what Woodlawn and also going to college taught me was that like it's okay to fail, and you're not, I think Jack kind of talked about it too, you're not going to be perfect on your first try, and it's a learning experience both graduating from Woodlawn and also going to college. So just know going into it that like it's okay to fail, it's okay to mess up, it's just about like how you fix it, how you improve from it.
Yeah. That's such a great point. Thank you, JT, for adding that.
I just saw Dr. Stutzman's comment pop up, which is good because I also want to go back to Molly and Addie's question about choosing your major. So as I mentioned earlier, like when I was in high school, I had no idea what I wanted to major in. And I wish more people had told me that like that was okay. I feel like it's pretty common in a lot of schools where you don't have to like have your major like declared until like your sophomore year. So you guys have plenty of time to figure it out. I recommend trying new things. Maybe you'll surprise yourself and find something you end up really liking. So
I really appreciate that. Yeah, I had no idea either. It took me a long time to decide because I had a total freedom. Yeah. Wonderful. Well, it is so wonderful to see your faces and to hear your insights. We really value your time. Appreciate you volunteering and coming on here today. And thank you so much. And best of luck with your last semester, Trip and Will, and with your junior and sophomore years, everyone else. And keep in good touch with us. Thank you. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye.